Welcome to the Sheridan Report on the Gruely True Sports Network. The Sheridan Report is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. To find out more about MyBookie.ag, you can go to thegruelingtruth.com, click on the MyBookie.ag banner at the top of the page, and we'll give you up to a $300, 100% cash bonus. So if you put $300 in, you'll have $600 to play with. Or you can go to mybookie.ag and put in a promo code TGT100. I am your host for the show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in from the Sheridan Report, Bobby Sheridan. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing very good, Mike, and we've got a lot of games to talk about and a big weekend coming up, so let's get to it.
All right, let's start off with Major League Baseball. What do we got tonight, Bobby?
Major League Baseball, we got a game starting right now in about 1 minute. It's the Cubs-Cardinals game. I've got the Cardinals, who are minus 109 right now on my site, and they are going to be leading off our three-team parlay today. So it's a mix-and-match, small little road favorite, the Cardinals. And that's going to be starting right about now, 11:20, and it just changed 11:20. So maybe too late for the listeners to get that in as part of the mix-and-match situation. But let's give you the other two that I have with that. And this is the parlay, and that's the Braves at 4 o'clock and the Rangers at 5 o'clock. And I really like this one, Mike. The Braves at 4 o'clock on the road, starting a road trip in Miami. And remember, we talked about Miami really playing a big role in who will win that East because they're going to play the favorites each 18 times. I think Atlanta, the edge that they have, if they have an edge, would be their experience from winning the division last year and their ability to beat the Marlins. This is a team that they're comfortable playing, comfortable beating, and so I think with sending one of their best starters to start out the road trip, I like them tonight. And then the final one was Texas with Mike Minor, and this is a left-hander that we talked about before is going to be a big deadline-type deal guy. I think he's going to be one of the top left-handers, one of the top pitchers you're going to hear about with the contenders needing to add a starting pitcher. I think they'll be calling on Texas lefty Mike Minor. And he's home against a struggling Blue Jays team who really performed poorly in Anaheim this last three games, and they're traveling down to Texas. I think Texas will get this one. So that's the three-teamer. And we go to our straight plays, Mike, and this is why I'm excited about tonight's card. We've got 4 plays that show up, and I've deemed one of them as a top play. So let's give you the 4 plays. And I'll go kind of in order as we head down here. So we got the top play, the Giants, not a top play. The Giants are a side play, a straight play. And they go on the road, and they call up a pitcher named Tyler Beede, who this is his second shot now. And he's really handled this one a lot better than he did his first time through. He went down and worked on some things that needed him to work on coming out of spring training, and he's pitched great in AAA, so he's ready. They needed a starting pitcher. They're ready. So I believe they got a shot in this first game because they're going to a hitting ballpark, and a lot's changed here with your Reds, Mike. As you know, you follow them. They're not swinging the bat at all. They're in the bottom maybe 10, 15% of all categories in the National League, and the Giants are right there with them. But I believe the Giants offense, who woke up a bit on the road trip last time, I'm looking for the same thing to happen here on this road trip. So I do like the Giants at that price.
Well, the Reds will be playing Nick Senzel tonight in center field. He's supposed to be one of the hot young prospects in baseball, so maybe that'll give him a little juice.
Yeah, I did read about that he is, and they're calling him potentially a Rookie of the Year candidate, and he's up in plenty of time to do that if he has big numbers, and they need a boost, there's no doubt. And Sonny Gray has been one of their best pitchers. This is a bit of a reach, not a reach, but it's a bit of it's a value play. I'm anticipating the Giants to swing the bats in this series, and it's a sneaky play with Tyler Beede, who I think can pitch with Gray tonight. So that's really where the basis of the bet is. Okay, then we go to the top play, which is the Mets. The New York Mets, Steven Metz. We talked about DeGrom struggling a bit, but I wasn't worried about it. What's he do? He comes out and throws 7 shutout innings and we get beat 1-0, unfortunately. Then the next night we talk about Syndergaard's been struggling, and who are the real aces of this staff? Well, he comes out and he throws a gem. He does something that hasn't been done since 1983. And I tweeted about this. He shut the other team out 1-0. He hit the home run. It was a complete game, 1-0 victory, and he hit the home run. That hadn't been done since Bob Welch in 1983 for the Dodgers. That's before he even was with the Mets, the A's, excuse me. So that was a big win for the Mets yesterday, getting that in. And so we talked about that. So the guys, we said, hey, Steven Metz, this guy is throwing the pitching great. Left-handed pitcher, one of the top of the National League, and he's coming off another solid outing. I really like him tonight. What's going on with Milwaukee is they've hit a snag where it happens that sometimes in your season where your pitching staff just gets really, really burnt. You know, they have used a lot of pitchers, and their bullpen's really been taxed in that Colorado series. And they're going into tonight's game with Brandon Woodruff, really needing a long outing out of him. And they're not, you know, I think yesterday their home run streak was snapped at home. And they've been playing without Christian Yelich, so they're very vulnerable right now. I like the Mets tonight a lot in that game. That's plus 123 with Mats. Okay, we've moved down. We've got two more. I'm scrolling down. They're both in the American League. We got the Kansas City Royals over Detroit. That's a battle of left-handers, Lopez versus Boyd. I like the Royals matchup here against the Tigers offensively. I think they're going to be able to do some things. They swing the bat better, so I like the 138 price there. And then finally, the last game will be the Seattle Mariners over the Cleveland Indians. And this is a rematch from a series that took place about maybe 10 days ago when Cleveland was out here on the West Coast, maybe 14 days ago. They run together for me a little bit, but Seattle's lost a couple to Cleveland at home. And I think they're going to get out on the road and swing the bat. You know, Seattle is a team that surprised everybody at the start of the year. They had the best record in the league at one point. They had the most home runs and the most runs scored. And what's happened was they've hit a snag where, you know, the home run ball's kind of gone away a little bit. They're not an on-base percentage type team. So that's last in the league over the last 7 days or so, 10 days. And their average is the highest over the same period. So what happens? You lose a bunch of games. But, okay, you get through that run. You go out on the road. You play a team that just beat you at home. You go back and return the favor. That's kind of how baseball is. And they're throwing a left-hander tonight, Kikuchi, who's going to give them a shot to win that game. So I like Seattle with the price. So we have a lot of value working tonight, Mike, in baseball.
All right.
I have a suggestion.
Good.
Yeah, let me give a suggestion to the fans. I give out the plays, and it's kind of up to you to determine how you like to play it. And I suggest tonight that you play all four of these games straight. All four of these straight plays, these underdog plays, play them all straight. And then hook up a couple in a parlay, maybe the first two I mentioned, and hook up the next two in a parlay. Just two teamers. You know, that's the basis of my handicapping and of my success going back some years now, was baseball and the dog-to-dog parlay. And this is what I would do. I used to pick 4 games a day, and I would hook 2 up together, maybe the National League, and hook 2 up together in the American League in a parlay, and just try to hit 3 of them. You know, if you split, you're not too bad off. You're okay. Yeah, and if you hit 3 out of 4, you're making good money. So maybe that's tonight. Go back to the old school. Let's hook up Seattle and Kansas City, bet them both straight, and then hook a parlay up with those two. And let's do the first two, the Mets and the Giants, and hook those up in a parlay. And then Mets top play, put extra straight money in that. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the card tonight, Mike.
All right, Bobby, you want to talk a little NHL?
I do, Mike. You got me addicted to your plays now.
Okay.
Who you like tonight?
Who do I like tonight?
It's there when you come out playing, isn't it?
I like Carolina to sweep the series against the Islanders. Carolina's really good at home, maybe the best home ice advantage in hockey. Stars and Blues. I think you could go a parlay with these two. It pays like 3-1, or you can combine it with one of Bobby's baseball plays. I like the Stars in the upset. I know everybody's picking the Blues to win this series. I picked the Stars at the start. This is a huge game for St. Louis. If they lose it, it'll be 3-2, and they'll be going back to Dallas and can be eliminated. The thing that really has given the Blues problems, especially on Wednesday, was Dallas's transition game. And when the Stars have made their push, especially when you get later in the game, second period, third period, the Blues didn't have much of an answer Wednesday night. Then they just kind of come at you with waves. They keep up the pressure. And I think we can get an upset here tonight if they can play the same way. And the big thing is to not fall behind early in the game, because if they don't fall behind early, I think this pressure will eventually break the Blues. So I'm going to go with Dallas in an upset tonight.
Well, that's a big call, Mike. I see them at plus 135 on mine. Is that what you have roughly?
I got plus 130 on mine.
Okay. All right. So, that's a really nice, solid price. And if you've been following these hockey lines, that's about as good as you've been getting. All these lines have been pretty, the favorites have been only minus 120 or 25. So this is a 55 favorite. So they're expecting St. Louis to win this game. So I think the Dallas Stars would be a great pick if you can get it in.
All right, Bobby. NBA.
All right. Oh, okay, Mike. So, you got we give you some good dogs and you can combine those two hockeys with maybe the NBA or maybe one of those baseballs, however you want to do it. But NBA takes center stage again tonight, Mike. And it's there's two interesting games. We got game threes going on. We have Milwaukee heading to Boston and Denver going to Portland. And both series are tied 1-1. So let's attack the first one first. We got Milwaukee going to Boston. It's a 5:10 Pacific start. And, Mike, we've talked about this. You and I both like Milwaukee in this series. And, I do like them tonight. I have bet Milwaukee at +2. However, I did not make them my top play. And that'll be the next game. And we'll talk about that at that time. But Milwaukee, one thing right off the bat, I used to learn a long time ago. I used to have a betting system that I would use, and it would be basically the rematches. Each team, out of conference would play each other twice in the regular season, and then in conference would play each other 4 times. And so when you would have the second, third, and fourth of these meetings, I would just track the lines, however they were, and if the line I would find would basically move about 10 points. And if the other team was on a back-to-back, it might move 12, or if there was an injury. Or then, if it only moved about 8 or 7, then you have value. So you look at this. We have no back-to-backs, of course, in the playoffs. But Milwaukee, Boston is -2. And so we have Milwaukee just laying at Boston. I mean, when it was at Milwaukee was laying about 8 points. So we've got a 10-point spread. So this is about where it should be. Boston should be about -2 on a 10-point difference. Okay, but the other series in the NBA have been about 8 or so. So this series, they're really giving a lot of the home court to Boston here. They're making it a full 10 points, and Milwaukee is the better team here, Mike. Milwaukee made the adjustments in game 2, and unless Boston were to go home and really shoot the ball well from 3 tonight, I believe that Milwaukee has the edges in most of the departments. And, you're putting a lot of stock in Kyrie Irving, who just came off of a very bad game 2, and you'd be putting a lot of stock in that home court, which, to me, for Boston, doesn't exist the way it used to. And I think Milwaukee's got a lot to prove in this game tonight. And I think should they win this game tonight, they're going to take the series, and everything's going to change. So I do see that happening. I'm going to take the 2 points. I'm just tempered a little bit on making it a top play, because you could always come back and take Milwaukee in game 4. So if Milwaukee loses tonight, it will be a top play for me in game 4, most likely. And if Milwaukee wins tonight, then I can see what happens with the line and go from there. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee on a straight bet, not a top play, plus the 2.
All right,
and that's
buddy.
at 5. Yeah. And then we go to the nightcap, Mike, and this is a game I really like tonight. This is the game, if you're going to just bet one, I would bet it, or if you're just going to make maybe a big bet, this is the big bet of the day, Mike. This is Portland And here's an 8-point spread. You had Denver was favored by 4 at home. And now they go to Portland. Portland's favored by 4. So they're basically giving the home court edges about the same. Okay, they're only changing the line 8 points. Portland, to me, that's the first mistake. They're worth more than that coming back home. And the reason is because they shoot the ball so well at home. Their numbers are far superior at home shooting the ball from 3. And that's really the key, because Portland lost game 1 because they turned the ball over and they made less threes than Denver. All right? Even though they out-rebounded Denver. They turned the ball over twice as much and they made less threes. That equals a loss. We'll go to game 2. What happens? Portland makes the big adjustments on defense. They hold Jokic to 16. They get out-rebounded pretty badly, especially offensive boards, but they made more threes than Denver. So they get the win. More threes, less turnovers, adjust the defense on Jokic, you get the win. So now we go to game 3, where they're at home and they shoot the ball significantly better. I can pretty easily predict that they're going to hit more threes tonight than Denver. And that right there in the playoffs, just all games total, has been about 75%. The team that hits more threes wins about 75% of these games. So right there you have a strong angle there, okay? Now you go with, okay, they held Jokic down to 16 points. He's the key, he's the playmaker of their offense. Now it's Denver's turn to make some adjustments off of that. Can they? I don't know. It's going to be pretty difficult. Portland plays a lot better at home. They, like I said, they shoot the ball better. They play better defense. Their energy level is outstanding. So that I wouldn't bet on that for Denver. Turnovers are going to go up for Denver. You know, they did not turn the ball over a whole lot in those 2 games at home. I would say they would probably turn the ball over more tonight. So the turnovers, 3-point shooting, the wild card for Denver needing to adjust offensively going into this game. We don't know how that's going to work. I was very confused reading some quotes from Malone, the coach. At first he's talking about, well, we had open shots and we just missed. But then he starts talking about, but I would like to see our guys, when they're missing, go to the hole more, go to the rack and get fouled and find other ways. He's just speaking out of both sides. He just said they had great shots, they were open, they just got to make them. Then he turns around and says, but if we're not making them, we got to go to the hole. This guy's getting out-coached. He got badly out-coached in Game 2 from Stotts, and it's going to just continue on here in Game 3. So Portland's a big play for me tonight, Mike. I love them. I think this is a double-digit win.
All right, Bobby. I want to remind everybody that if you were waiting to hear some Kentucky Derby news, that will be tonight at 8 o'clock on our live show. You want to tell us a little bit about the live show and who our guests are, Bobby?
I do, Mike. We have a legend on the show tonight, and his name is Vince Gregory, and he's probably the leading jockey agent of all time. He's had 7 Hall of Famers. So this is a guy who's had a close personal working relationship with 7 Hall of Fame jockeys. A who's who jockey list, and you'll find out later. His name is Vince Gregory. You can look him up. He's in his early 80s now. Loves to talk and still chat horses. Mike and I, I'm sure, will come up with some good questions for him, and he'll talk about his career and his times in racing, and he may give us some opinion on the race tonight. I don't know if he's still following the horses like he used to, but then we've got Phil Rankin on. He's a professional horse handicapper, and he's got the race broken down, and I've already seen his top 4 and how the rankings come out, and he'll talk about the race and talk about how he came up with those numbers, and we'll ask him some questions, and it should be a really, really good preview.
Yeah, we're going to have to find out the difference in a mutter and a non-mutter before you bet tomorrow, too, because it looks like it's going to be a little messy then.
Oh, boy. Well, that's going to be one of our questions for him, Mike. We just can't screw this up. If we don't screw it up, we're going to have a good show. You and I.
All right. So on this day today, Bobby.
All right. On this day, Mike, let's go to 1980. All right. You like the 80s? Giants first baseman. This is early 80s, so 1980. Giants first baseman Willie McCovey hit his 521st and final home run.
Oh, was it your question? That's not a question. It was a statement. All right. Willie McCovey and Willie Stargell were two of my favorite non-Reds when I was growing up. And how about this? Bobby, when you played baseball, when you were a little kid, did you emulate any of your baseball heroes, the way they batted or anything?
Yeah. Reggie Jackson, Rod Carew. That was two I can right off the top of my head.
All right,
Reggie
mine, has nothing to do with Willie McCovey, but I'm going to get back to that. But that just popped into my head. Mine was I was from the Cincinnati area, so mine was the old Joe Morgan, twitching the back arm there when he was up to bat.
Elbow, yeah.
Yeah, that and Willie Stargell, when he'd come up and he'd do that thing with the bat around. But
he pinwheel it, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that too, and I didn't have the success that they had. I was close, though. But Willie McCovey was a guy. Number one, I thought he played all 22 years with the Giants, but he did have a stopover for like 3 years with the Padres and the A's in the mid-'70s. He was a dead pole line drive hitter, and I think he was one of the first teams that people actually used this god-awful shift that everybody uses on every batter today, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was a dead pole hitter from the left side.
Which gets me off to another tangent. We were watching a game. What game was that the other night, Bobby?
Where they used 4 outfielders and loaded the infield up on the right side.
Well, and there was nobody down the third base line. And
there was nobody. Yeah, nobody.
Yeah, and you had like the winning run at third base. They're not. Who was the batter? It wasn't Jay Bruce, was it? Jay Bruce is good at doing that crap.
I can't remember, but it was a left-handed hitter that all he had to do was push the bunt down the line and it would have been a run.
Yeah, it would have tied the game. He'd have made it to first base with a base hit, but instead he flies out because he still is swinging the bat. Now, why is that, Bobby?
Well, that's because those guys don't work on a bunt.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you could swing the ball down the third baseline and get the run home.
Yeah, but it's just really one of those situations where they don't work on it. The other team, whoever, I'm not talking about this instance.
But why would you not work on it, Bobby? Isn't that part of being a baseball player?
Probably inviting him to do it. They're inviting him to do it.
Yeah, but isn't that part of being a baseball player to learn how to do everything?
Well, yeah, and it's like what George Brett said. He said, in today's day, if they would play me like that, I'd hit 600. Because the guys in that time were all-around players, all-around hitters that went the other way.
You couldn't do it back then because everybody would have been bunting.
Yeah, bunting and slapping the ball the other way. That's correct.
So don't you think it would make sense that if everybody was playing you like that, if you just took extra batting practice and learned how to bunt? Because once you bunt a few times, they're not going to shift on you anymore.
Well, that's right. And also, being a bunt threat, it also draws the third baseman in and gives you that hole.
Yeah.
So the third baseman can't play back. That's a huge advantage there, probably 10 hits a year, getting through that left side or more. So, it's just it's a fly ball hitting game now. It's a power home run hitting game.
It's a strikeout or a home run game anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately. And the teams that are learning or that do a good job of scoring runs without the long ball, and that's not Milwaukee. Milwaukee relies completely on the long ball, by the way. A team like Boston last year, they did a good job of scoring runs without the long ball, and they won the World Series.
That's usually the team that wins the World Series.
What's that?
That's usually the team that wins the World Series.
Yeah, exactly.
Something else. Let's get back to Willie McCovey since he's on this day. The thing that surprised me is
I wanted to say, too, Mike, real quick, you said you used to emulate Joe Morgan and such, and I was Rod Carew, but it's a good thing neither one of us was Mike Hargrove. Do you remember Mike Hargrove?
I remember Mike Hargrove.
They called him the human rain delay because when he gets to bat, he'd have to touch. He had these obsessive compulsive. He'd have to touch there, put that there, take this down, switch that, and he'd do that between every pitch. And so if you and I were imitating him, man, we'd be, our backyard games would get dark soon. I don't know why. I just remembered that. Mike Hargrove, he was good manager, managed the Cleveland Indians for a while and went to the World Series and lost.
Alrighty. Now I forgot what I was going to say. But all right, no. Back to McCovey. Surprising thing to me is he only had 2,200 hits in 22 years. He had a 270 lifetime average, 521 home runs. Like I said, dead pole hitter. And Bob Gibson, who was one of the greatest pitchers to ever play, said that Willie McCovey was the scariest hitter in baseball to face. And when Bob Gibson says that about you, that says a lot. And a guy who's second to that from the article I'm reading here was Reggie Jackson. McCovey was a great power hitter. I think the biggest moment in McCovey's career would have been the 1962 World Series against the Yankees. It was his only World Series appearance of his career. In the bottom of the ninth, he comes up, Game 7, runners on second and third, Giants trail 1-0. Willie Mays is on second, Matty Alou is on third. Any base hit will at least tie the World Series Game 7. But a base hit's probably with Matty Alou at second going to win you the World Series. And McCovey, I don't know, I'm sure you've seen this, Bobby, but he hits a line drive that was snared by Yankees second baseman Bobby Richardson, which basically ended the World Series and gave the Yankees the win.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No,
oh,
I don't. The 1962, right?
Yeah, go watch the World Series film for 1962. It was one of the most climactic endings in World Series history because when he hits it, you can see the crowd raise, and they think they've won the World Series, and Bobby Richardson out of nowhere just snags the line drive to win the series.
I've got to catch up on that era, Mike. I have not watched too much of the film on that, but I'm going to. I will do that. 1962.
Well,
that's why I love doing this, Mike, because I learn stuff and it motivates me to go check something out that I don't know about.
See, this was such an iconic World Series, and I know most people don't remember it, but if you remember Charles Schultz, who did the Peanuts comic strips, he actually ran 2 comic strips about this. And if I remember right, the first one was Charlie Brown sitting alongside of Linus, I think it was. And, it says on the top of it, because Linus is upset, why couldn't McCovey have hit the ball just 3 feet higher? And, I mean, this was a big deal. And Bobby Richardson makes that catch. I think it was one of the greatest World Series ever, one of the most underrated World Series of all time. Now, if McCovey does hit the ball 3 feet higher, this is probably a World Series iconically that is still remembered for Willie McCovey's walk-off because it would have been such a shock to watch the New York Yankees lose to the San Francisco Giants.
Right.
And then
that would have been great.
When I was looking into it, I didn't know that 1974 through 76 he played for the Padres and A's. Struggled most of that time. He went back to the Giants 77 through 80, and at age 39 he had 28 home runs, 86 RBIs, and was named the Comeback Player of the Year. I think that was in 1978, and then in 1978 he hit 500th career home run. But yeah, I just think he was a great player, and I think it's a shame he played with the Giants because, I mean, San Francisco's a big city, but it's not like a huge market, if that makes sense. And when you look at him,
it is.
Yeah,
exactly, especially at that time,
Yeah, and he also, you got to bring up the bad stuff too, but him and Duke Snider pled guilty to federal tax fraud charges that had failed to report about $10,000 from signing autographs and memorabilia sales, and Willie was given I think a $5,000 fine and like 2 years of probation. But
a lot of those. Yeah, that year,
President Barack Obama
pardoned
him of that, though, in 2017.
Oh, I'm glad because, a lot of those guys, as I was going to say, were that era, the Mickey Mantle and those guys, they really hit the signing at the perfect time, to make money on that. And a lot of those guys are paid in cash by the promoters. And so that's the money that they weren't declaring. It's not a good idea to do that, obviously. But they got caught, and but these are guys that didn't make the They made big bucks for the time, but not big enough like now to where they could retire on it and such. And the extra money is still big for those guys at that time. And you can see getting paid in cash how easy that would be to not report a lot of that.
Well, plus you could see how easy it would be to think that maybe the government doesn't deserve a freaking dime from you signing your name. But that's just my opinion.
Well, that's taking it even another step. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's absolute bullshit. Because income tax, up until 1913, I think, when it was passed this way, but income tax was supposed to be on corporations. It's supposed to be on corporations, not on personal income, because anything you read from the Founding Fathers, I know this has nothing to do with a sports betting show, but what the hell, I'm on a tangent.
No.
But anything, Thomas Jefferson, all these guys, when you read anything they wrote, they always said that it was not right for government to tax people on their own income. I mean, that's basically what we overthrew the British government for, was taxation without representation. And then in 1913, you had this law that supposedly came into effect. But if you look up the law on the IRS and taking of personal income in 1913, they passed that law in the middle of the night on like either New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve, and there were not enough people there to vote on it to make it legal. So they still, to this day, do not have enough votes to make it legal to tax your personal income. But people are still stupid enough to let them do it. But that's something totally different. Yeah, and I would like today announce that I am running for president in 2020.
You got my vote, Mike.
There we go.
You're a guy that'll get
I don't even know if I'd vote for myself. Maybe we could get Risley to vote for me. That'd be 3. Sam's not old enough, but he will be by 2020. That's 4. My wife's 50-50. I got one son, so I think I could get close to double-digit votes.
Which would be an accomplishment. I mean, that'd be cool. But I don't know. Bobby Knight endorsed Trump pretty good.
Well, maybe I can see if Bobby wants to be my vice president. And then, you know what I could do then? I don't know if you listened to our show before, but what I could do is if I'm president, I will see if Steve Risley would be my caddy. And then I'm going to treat him like crap because I'm the golfer and he's the caddy. And I know he's listening right now, so I figured I'd throw that out there.
You know what Steve's got to do in rebuttal to all this? He's just got to take you on in cornhole.
He's not going to take me on in cornhole, Bobby. We all know that's not happening.
Well, he should. He should just not talk about it and just say, Mike, I'm on.
I think he's waiting. It's kind of like Pacquiao-Mayweather, which we talked about the other day, where I think that he's just waiting until I get older and a little more run down because, that's his only chance is if I go over the hill. But, I mean, I'm thinking about starting. I might go play that tournament in Cincinnati June the 14th and get my ass smoked just for the heck of it. So,
yeah. All right,
Steve remembers Mantle and Maris. Just so you know, I just noticed that he's been texting me. And Steve says it's going to be sunny and mice tomorrow in Lexington.
Well, that's good info. So no rain.
It's sunny and mice tomorher, though, is what he said. Because his fingers are too fat, and when he tries to hit the N, it hits the M a lot of times. And I like to give him a hard time about it.
I just got a text from Steve. He says, you'll caddy for me and no cornhole. And he says, I'll vote for you.
Well, see, there's no cornhole. Without cornhole, what good is it? I mean, because that cornhole, and the thing is, Frank Gears, the president of the American Cornhole Organization, texted me again yesterday and said he was serious, and he thinks that we would all get massive attention if we did it. And I am like the biggest attention whore you'll ever find.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know you're a winner coaching, and I'm helping to make you a winner betting. So let's just keep it going.
Well,
right,
I'm already a cornhole winner, so remember, that didn't sound right, did it? But we'll let that go so it doesn't go in a bad direction and get us in trouble. Tonight, we got Phil Rankin from the Handicapping Guide. And who was DeGroyo? Because I'm going to say Ernie again because of the old Buffalo Brave.
Vince DeGregory.
Vince DeGregory. All right. Hopefully I don't call him Ernie D. Gregorio tonight, but if I do, we'll get a lot of basketball fans to tune in.
Yes, we will.
But all right, so
tonight, and this is gonna be a treat. This is gonna be a good one, Mike, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think Phil is gonna give out the whole card.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, so he's gonna want you to post it, I think, on the website, or you can just go to I don't know what he sent me an email, however he wants it, but he's gonna give out the card to everybody that wants to take a look at it for all the races tomorrow. Are you there, Mike?
Yes, I'm here, Bobby. My phone cut out, but I was here.
Oh, okay.
But
all right.
So 8 o'clock tonight, Kentucky Derby pre-show. 10 o'clock tonight, me and Jeremiah Pricer will be with you inside Boxing Daily. We got a special edition. There are two big fights tomorrow night. One is Arthur Beterbiev against a guy by the name of Kolodzic for the light heavyweight championship of the world. And tonight, Beterbiev, who is the reigning world champion, his trainer will be on with us, John the Iceman Scully, who was at one point fought Michael Nunn for the light heavyweight championship of the world. One of the top trainers in the country right now, also works for ESPN as a commentator. Great guy. He will be on tonight to break down the Beterbiev Kolodzic fight. Where else are you getting the trainer of the light heavyweight champion the night before he defends his title on a boxing show to talk with me and Jeremiah? So make sure you check that out at 10 o'clock tonight. And then, of course, me and Jeremiah will talk a little bit about the other big fight tomorrow night, which we've got Daniel Jacobs against Saul Canelo Alvarez for the middleweight championship of the world. So make sure you check us out at 10 o'clock tonight with that. And then me and Bobby will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern. Correct, Bobby?
Yes, we will, Mike. I love the Saturday shows. I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow. We got some good basketball to talk about, and more weekend baseball. It's a huge weekend, Mike.
All right. Every weekend's a huge weekend, Bobby, when you're betting like Bobby does, right?
Well, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I mean, 2-0 on our top plays yesterday, following up from all the night before. So we're on a good roll right now, and let's keep it going.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I want to make sure that you go to thesheridanreport.com. You can buy Bobby's daily report at $10 a day or $50 for the entire month. Also follow Bobby at Sheridan Report. And also follow Steve Risley at SRisley34 because he wants you to. So go ahead and do that. And we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up for today. Or should we just continue to talk shit about Steve Risley since he's not on here to defend himself?
I say let's do this. Let's spend the next 5 hours talking shit about Risley. Because there's enough stuff we can come up with to do that easily. Start from in high school, blowing the semifinal, against a team with a bunch of 6-foot guards.
No, a bunch of 3-foot midgets.
Yeah, we'll take it right into Indiana, and just getting pummeled by Knight for 4 years. Then we'll right into, some post stuff, and we'll take it right up into now. And there's enough stuff till 5 o'clock, and then we'll just start the show.
We could have the Risley Marathon.
Got to talk about all the programs he watches and the daytime television, and
all NASCAR, all golf, all reality shows, all the time. But all right, that's enough. We've given him enough publicity because there's a bunch of Canadians out there that listen to this for hockey, and they're all wondering who the hell Steve Risley is. But you can check him out at SteveRisley.com if you want. He's got his own website.
Is that website updated?
Now, I don't know if he's ever updated it, but I know it's still there, SteveRisley.com. All right, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Remember, check us out tonight at 8 o'clock, Kentucky Derby Preview. Tonight at 10 with John Scully, trainer for light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev. And that's about it. We're going to wrap it up for today. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, Zeno Live Radio. It's just, we're everywhere. We're like VD. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap the show up for Bobby Sheridan. I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.